Welcome. I'm Ravi Verma, professional Scrum trainer at scrum.org, agile coach, and the CEO of Org Whisperers.
If you're using Scrum, there's a high probability that you have found yourself either in a conflict or observing a conflict between two or more people who are all convinced 100% that their way is the right way and any other way is complete nonsense. If you find that you spend a lot of your time getting sucked into these conflicts and you're not able to emerge with a solution that is consistent with the true north of your company, your customers, users, investors, and your entire organization, I would like to offer you a new way of resolving these conflicts. So when you find yourself locked into these conflicts where everybody is convinced that their way is the best way, if you have the blessing of being co-located, stand shoulder to shoulder and consider the questions that I am about to ask you. If you are virtual, pretend as if you're standing shoulder to shoulder, looking at the problem and looking at the options instead of looking across the table at each other as adversaries. So let's start with the first thinking hat of Scrum. Ask yourself which of these positions that we are considering or advocating for, which of these positions is most consistent with value for our customers and users? How do we know that? The second thinking hat of Scrum. Which of these options is most consistent with what we want for our partners? Because without these partners, we wouldn't be able to get to the market to satisfy and delight our customers and users. The third thinking hat of Scrum. Which of these options might help us meet our obligations and promises to our regulators? Maybe we don't care about them too much, we don't like them, but if you get in trouble with your regulators, you could go out of business. So when you make decisions and choose options, you've got to keep your regulators in mind. Fourth thinking hat of Scrum. Which of these options might help us take care of our communities? Because the products and solutions that you launch do not exist in a vacuum. They could have an impact on the communities inside of which those products and solutions are being used. There could be a situation where you take care of maybe your customers, users, investors, but you could cause severe damage to your community. So you've got to keep them in mind. Next thinking hat of Scrum. Which of these options might help us keep our promises to our investors? Because if you don't take care of your investors, you're not going to make payroll. You won't have a job. So you may not like your investors in some ways because they want a return of investment. But on the other hand, if you don't take care of them, you won't have a job. Now let's change our focus internally. Which of these options might help us meet our promises to management? It could be your C-suite who report to the board of directors, executives, SVPs, VPs, and so on. Which of the options that you are fighting about will keep your promises to your dependent teams? You could have upstream, downstream teams who are depending on you to honor your promises. How will their lives be impacted as you evaluate the different paths that you're considering? Which of these options will help you keep your promises to your own team? What will be the long-term effects? How might this impact your team morale? How might this impact your working agreement and the norms, the principles and values that you promised to adhere to as you were trying to deliver value to your organization? As you look at all of these hats, the most important hat that I think I would like you to wear is the hat of curiosity. And this is Curious George. If you do not have a beginner's mind, you will be convinced that your way is the only way and it is the best way, and that will shut down possibility. It might make you go into your fight, flight, or freeze response, and it might trigger a similar response in the others. However, if you have a beginner's mind, if you are curious, you are more likely to open up the space to have new ways of thinking, new ways of being, and make yourself and other people feel safe that no matter what happens, we will find the best way and we are all going to be okay. The hat that I probably want you to avoid is the hat that I used to wear most often in my early stages of my career as a Scrum coach, which was Scrum Police. Whenever I saw a conflict in my team members or in my customers or students, I would take a printout of the Scrum guide and I would beat my students, my customers, my clients with this guide, and I would shame them and make them feel like horrible. They were horrible human beings because they had the audacity to do things which violated the Scrum guide. So this is one hat that I hope you will not wear, and instead you will wear many of these other hats. Look at it from an external perspective, starting with your customers and users, your partners, regulators, communities, your investors, and then an internal perspective, thinking about your dependent teams, management, your team, and most importantly, wear the hat of curiosity.
If you found this useful, contact us for a free consultation. Thank you, keep calm, and scrum on.